Good evening, everyone. My name is Pam Ford of Speak Up and Vote, and to my left,
Jerry Williams of Speak Up and Vote.
yes. So this is the beginning of the election season. So we are back at it again doing actual forums, candidates forums, because our goal is to educate our community as to what's going on. This has been, the last couple of years has been a pivotal time, both personally, professionally with people. We've seen loved ones leave us due to the pandemic, loss of jobs, loss of homes. I mean, it has just been a lot going on. So one of the things I believe is because we've been at home, we've had an opportunity the last couple of years to really sort of zone in on what's been happening locally in our communities. By watching the news, I know one of the biggest things is that if nothing else, they've taught you that politics is local. Everything that happens locally is what gets to the federal level. And we may not have known it 4 or 5 years ago, but we definitely we definitely know it now. So it's important about voting local in elections because these are the decisions that they take to the national level. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started. And this is my first time meeting the ladies, so we'll let the ladies go first as far as introduce themselves. And no, you know what, Pastor Brooks, we'll let you go. You're the incumbent. We'll let you go first.
Okay.
We'll let you go first.
Probably because I think, Pam, because I'm the oldest. Is that right?
Yeah, that may be it too. That may be it too. Right. So if you can go ahead and introduce yourselves. Now, each person can take no more than a minute because we are on a time crunch here. So take about a minute. You all can take about a minute or less to introduce yourselves and we'll get started.
Okay. My name is Herbert Brooks Jr. As you all know, I've been on the Will County Board since 2008. I currently chair the Capital Improvement Committee. I'm a former speaker and served on all the committees. There's many projects we're still working on right now, and I want to continue that work. And I'll stop right there.
Wonderful. Okay, Jasmine.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jasmine Martinez. I am currently enrolled as a college student at JJC. I'm in the second semester of my freshman year, so I am moving on to my second year pretty soon. I'm majoring in computer science. I hope that in the future I will have a career in tech. But as far as things go right now, I'm just,
You're freezing up a little bit.
With this politics thing, hoping that
you're freezing up. Yeah, can you repeat that last part? It froze up.
Oh yeah. I said that I'm but as of right now, obviously I've been getting involved in local government and I just really hope to make a change in my community.
Wonderful. Janet?
Hi, my name is Janet Diaz. I've lived in Will County 90% of my life. I've lived in my current home since 1995, and I love Joliet. I see things that it needs, and I see things that are wonderful about Joliet. I've also done volunteer many hours down at the Peter Claver Center, and I did meet you once, Pam, at a picnic.
Really?
And I've met Sherry several times. Yeah, Working Families Picnic, you came, and we sat and we talked and lemonade. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I have met you, but it was just for a little bit of time.
Oh, okay, wonderful.
I also worked in healthcare for years.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's get started. So, Pastor Brooks, first of all, what does the district cover? I know there's been some redistricting, so tell us the districts that it covers.
Now or
now?
Now. District 8 was called now. Covers about 50% of little 50% of Joliet. If you look at Joliet City, they have 5 districts, and District 4 and District 5 of the city of Joliet falls within my District 8. And then we currently go as far as We go up to like Larkin Avenue, but we skip over Joliet and pick up Hobo in the College Park area. We go up north, we go up the Woodruff Road. South, we go as far as up to Laraway Road. Yeah, up to Laraway Road, south. And as I said, west, we go up to, we go as far as College Park, but there's areas of Joliet as part of District 9 and 10 that I can't claim.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so, excuse me, let's get started, Pastor Brooks, with the elephant in the room. There's been some objections to the signatures that you submitted to get on the ballot. Can you explain what transpired in no more than about maybe a minute or two, due to time?
Well, historically, I never take the time as some do to go over the signatures. And I do know, I learned that some people did not spell the name correctly. They printed one way, they wrote it another way. There's a gentleman go to my church that goes by nickname. I've known him over 40 years by the nickname. That's what he signed. But what I did not know is that that wasn't his legal name. And that he signed by the nickname, and then they found out he did not. There was nobody by that name lived there. So there was examples like that people signed. One gentleman, you are very kind to me, but you don't have to be. I tell everybody, my name is not Pastor, it's Herbert Brooks. And there was a gentleman signed my petition, Pastor, whatever his name is. And then he printed his real name. And so I didn't catch it and catch a lot of them. As I said, I don't stay up at night and go over those things, but those were some errors that should have been caught. And I didn't know they did that. I think when someone asks you to sign your name, you ought to write your legal name, and that's what people call you and or your title. Because I've been a pastor for 32 years, but I don't use that title. That's not what my mother named me, and that's not what it. So it was a lot of examples like that.
Okay. So Jasmine, just to be fair, would you like to respond since you made the objection?
Sure, I can. Thank you. So definitely when I started my process into, my journey onto the Will County Board, hopefully, I did definitely just look at the petitions of the incumbents just to see, if they were upholding the standards that I think people expect to see from a Will County Board member. So after going over those petitions, I realized like Mr. Brooks may not have had as many signatures. So then I just decided to look into the validity of them just to see for myself. And that's when I realized like there was a few people who I think 4 different people took up 12 different signatures on the petition because of the amount of times they signed. There was would have been spotted. So then I guess that's where it led me up to where we are now. It was definitely more of just a thing of accountability and transparency, pretty much.
Okay,
Pam,
thank you.
I would just like to add for the people, the audience, Mr. Brooks, you are right. You're running as a write-in candidate, right?
That is correct. Right.
Okay.
Correct.
Just so that people know that you're on the ballot you'll be a write-in.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
But for a correction of Sherry, not on the ballot,
Right, I'm sorry.
but as a write-in candidate. Correct.
Okay. All right. So with Pastor Brooks, you initially stated, that you weren't going to run for re-election. Most people heard you say that at different events that you've frequented over the last year or so. So what changed your mind?
The people changed my mind, and not so much me. I've had many people in my district literally encourage me to run again. At first, I wasn't going to run, but I had there's so many projects going on that many people really wanted to see me continue and carry them out. So Pam, to answer your question, I had so many people came by my office, called me, even showed up at my church on Sunday and really encouraged me to run again for the new redistricting. And the second reason is so many of our incumbents with experience that are not running for re-election. And so a lot of things that's been going on, we want to see through. They wanted some experience on the board to carry those things through. So I have been encouraged by so many people to ask to run again.
Okay. All right. So for Jasmine and Janet, can you just sort of explain why it is that you want to act, why did you actually decide to run? And we'll start with you, Janet.
Sure. Okay, I was a single mom of a son, and I knew what it was like to have to make hard decisions. And as I said, I worked in healthcare as a CNA for 17 years, so the income was low. And it was hard, grueling work. And then I got injured at the job. And so then I went through a lot of physical therapy, surgery. So I know what it's like to be poor and broken and have a hard time, and tons of physical therapy. And I know that I can represent people who are feeling that same exact way. And then I went after the physical therapy and I started a second career, and now I'm a school bus driver. So I work really long hours, but I know that I can represent the people. I have some experience. As I said, I did a lot of volunteer work down at the Peter Claver Center while I was in rehab. So I've helped do Thanksgiving and Christmas dinners, filling out the paperwork so people can get the assistance, and then getting it all ready so that they could get their food in a timely manner on that day. So I do know what it's like to run an organization. And I've written policies actually at Silver Cross in the home health department and more in the physical rehab side. So I feel like I do have some experience.
Thank you. Jasmine?
I think that a few of the reasons why I'm running have to include, for some things that Janet said, like I know I'm not a single mother, but I grew up in a home of someone who was, a single mother with 3 kids. So I had to grow up. I was on that side of the spectrum. I was the child in the scenario, and I had to grow up that way. I had to learn a lot of responsibilities. I have to say that maybe my childhood could have been better. It was a little bit rough, but definitely showed me that I can take on responsibility, and that there's really maybe no one else better to do it, because I don't see the people coming up and advocating for people who look like me, college students, people who are trying to enter the workforce, people who come from working families who were very low income, very, on, that side of the spectrum. So I guess I just want to advocate for people who do look like me.
Wonderful. Sherry, you had a couple questions?
Well, this is for Pastor Brooks. You were the first.
Wait, he's breaking up a little bit, Sherry. Can you speak up a little bit louder?
American speaker.
Sherry, can you speak
Okay.
out? It's a little, you're breaking up.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
I'm talking.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't hear you. It's breaking up.
Yeah.
Okay. So as I was saying, this is for Pastor Brooks. You were the first African-American speaker of the Will County Board. And during your time as speaker, what policies or what did you promote or establish any kind of policies for the African-American community? Since that is Speak Up and Vote, we advocate for the underserved. So that is our primary concern. So I was just wondering, as the speaker, what did you do to promote that?
Well, one of the things I do know during my tenure, the 2 years I was a speaker, we have been able to initiate some things that had been talked about on the board for a long time, but no action being taken. And one of the words came up was set aside. And as you know, Sherry, having worked with the Sheriff Department, a lot when the jail was built, I was told there was no such thing that existed in Will County. So one of the things we have done is not necessarily so much in set aside, but to ensure minority participation in a lot of projects. And some of you see right now with our diversity committee. But then, Sherry, 10 years ago, we didn't have those kind of talks. We didn't have those discussions. So now, one of the things that I was able to see and get carried out is the dialogue with the set-asides and some participate with some minorities. And some minorities did get some of the work. Now, as you know, we've built the $215 million courthouse, and it wasn't minority participation on that with a project like that. But those things now, I don't know we ever see a project like that again, but some of the projects we have now, we do have a diversity inclusion committee that's now in the works of helping change those things.
Okay, so I'll start with you, Jasmine. If we're elected, what are some of the things that you would like to see happen, on the board, in your community? And then I'll ask you the same question. I'll give you both, a minute or two to answer that question.
Okay, thank you. So I think one of the things that I'm really advocating for and that I really want to see is a public broadband option. And I say this because, first of all, it's going to bring a lot of new jobs. It has the potential to bring a lot of new jobs. And if it's done right, it has the potential to bring greener jobs into Will County. Not only that, but providing a service like this is making competition. And when you have competition, two things are going to happen. Either the cost of service is going to go down or the quality of the service is going to go up. So it's going to be getting a lot of people connected onto this, what I think should be considered a basic utility at this point. A lot of people depend on the internet to do things at work, at school, and in their daily lives. It's really just enriched in our daily lives at this point. That's like, one of my biggest talking points. I think other than that, I'd also love to see more like sustainable initiatives in the county, either bringing more greener jobs or cutting down and reducing the Will County's greenhouse gas emissions, and just, running the county a little bit more sustainable, maybe.
Okay. Thank you. Janet?
Okay, well, as you can tell, me and Jasmine are on the same page on some of these things, actually most of them. Public broadband is on the top of my agenda as well, because it will obviously bring us where we can communicate together with other people. We saw that during COVID. It also is a way for the county to make an income if we do this right. I know Chattanooga, Tennessee did it. They expected it to take 10 years to pay it off. They did it in 5. And now they're getting a residual income from it, which has made it so that they can do other things in the county. We should absolutely do that. And Chattanooga is not Joliet. It's actually bigger than Joliet. But if we do this as Will County, we could be bigger than Chattanooga because there's all these other districts in Will County. Will County is the second largest county in the state. There's no reason we shouldn't make history in Illinois doing this. And there is grant money out there for this. It will also help small businesses be able to compete with their competition.
Wonderful. Thank you.
And
go ahead. Did you have something else to say?
No, thank you.
Okay. All right, Sherry.
Well, I think that with the ladies have pretty much answered it. I was going to wonder what was your biggest what's the biggest thing that you would like to see happen in the county? So are you guys advocating for just the a green county, or are we do you have some other things that are a little bit more personal maybe that you'd like to see happen in the county as well? Janet, you can start if you want.
Go ahead, Jazz. I'll let you go.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate it. I think another thing really, like you said, personal, a little bit close to my heart has to be that, I don't see a lot of maybe access to affordable housing in the county. I think that if you look at the way that things are now in our district, a little bit over 50% of lower income people are cost burden, which means that over 30% of their income is going towards housing costs. And what does that mean? That means that they have less income to go towards basic necessities. So that's like food, water, shelter's covered already in housing, but transportation costs. And if your parent add on, diapers, clothing, schooling costs and extracurriculars, that's out of the question if you're paying, 50% of your income into your housing costs. So I think that maybe having more access to affordable housing is something that I want to focus on. And doing that can be maybe by taking foreclosed houses and maybe turning those into affordable housing, or making sure at least that our lower income citizens are having access to those houses, because they're the ones that, need housing the most.
Thank you. Janet?
Well, Jazz and I, as I said, we're on the same page because we know what we want first, second, and third, and together we're both on the affordable housing idea. I have a personal story, actually, two of them. I've got two colleagues that I work with that are technically homeless. One is renting a room from a family friend, and she's hoping to do that for 5 years so that she can have a small down payment and actually get a house. Another one doesn't even have enough to get an apartment, so she's living in an Airbnb instead of living in her car. And she's using 50% of her income just to live in the Airbnb. That's wrong. We can do better as a county, and we can do better as a nation. We built the beautiful houses or condos, I think they're called condos, down on the east side with Habitat for Humanity's help. We can do that again throughout Will County. There's no reason we can't do that. And I love the idea that Jasmine has about foreclosed homes. Why not let people in need have first dibs at it versus some rich guy buying it and turning it into rental property who's not going to live there and isn't going to care and invest in the community? If you own the home, you're going to care. So I love that idea.
Wonderful. So Pastor Brooks, being on the actual board, what are some of the things you all are doing to help combat the homeless problem?
Well, first, let me correct. Will County is not the second largest county in the state of Illinois. It is the fourth. Mm-hmm. And with the last census, we almost slipped into fifth place. City of Joliet grew, but Will County did not. But currently, we are the fourth largest. Secondly, we are under Capital Improvement Committee that I said, we are building an RNG plant, which is a nuclear plant in District 6 that's going to give us less dependency on some of the gases and et cetera of the other plants they're doing right now. And that is in the work. That's going to be complete in about a year. Thirdly, we have a homeless committee now. Amanda Cook out of Frankfurt chairs that. Unfortunately, I think those are some excellent ideas that was mentioned, but unfortunately, the challenge that we face, there are 37 cities and villages in Will County. And we talk about converting houses. They come under jurisdiction of Joliet, Lockport, Crestfield, and all of those villages, particularly with Joliet, have turned them down. Some of our best ideas have been turned down. I sit on the board of directors of Stepping Stones. We're trying to build a new women's facility and got a $3.5 million federal grant from Bill Foster. City of Joliet already told us no, denied the permit. And there's others, Morning Star Mission on Break Street, YMCA, no. And so what to address those issues, and I hope they take place. Unfortunately, our hands get tied by the 37 cities and villages, particularly with the county seat of Joliet turning down everything. But I think there are excellent ideas, and I give you that, and we'll continue to work on them, but we are bound by the jurisdiction of those cities. Unfortunately, Will County just don't have the power to override the jurisdiction of the cities and said, we're gonna build more homeless and convert homes. We are under the jurisdiction of those cities. I don't know why, but Joliet keep turning them down.
Are there no unincorporated areas that Will County could do that?
There are 24 townships. We have a land use department, as you know, and that has been addressed with our committee. We don't own the homes in the 24 townships because they come under the jurisdiction of the township. Joliet Township, Creek Township, and let's go on, 24 of them. We don't own those. We don't own any homes right now that I'm aware of, but buying them, we have a block grant program that we get federal and state grant money from for those things. However, once again, our hands are tied by the government jurisdictions of those towns and those cities. But we have a block grant program that does help with those things. Yes.
So
Well,
we
one of the
have-
issues I know, I'm sorry, go ahead, Sherry.
No, I was just gonna say, even with the jurisdiction, but Will County encompasses the unincorporated area of those
Correct.
jurisdictions, correct?
Correct.
So would there not be anything in the unincorporated areas that could be?
Well, that's the township. There are 24 townships, which would we fall under their jurisdiction. Now, whether I right now to answer your question, Sherry, I don't know if we own any homes that could be rehabbed for those, but I do know this. I attend those committees when Amanda Cook chairs, and I hear of what's been going on, what they're trying to do. But right now, to answer your question, I'm not aware that we own any homes in the unincorporated areas.
Because one of the things, Pastor Brooks, and so even as a board member, even though they're not on board with you, I mean, you all got to be engaged in a battle. So what are the plans? I mean, because if people have the money, because I know a lot of people who get money, if they're Section 8 or what have you, they have the money, you know, they get the funding, but then they have to find their own homes. So, you know, their own housing. So a lot of them is just sort of stuck because there's no place for them to move to. And I understand what you're saying, but something's got to be done. So what is it that you all are willing to do to make this happen? I mean, since I'm coming at you because you've been on the board, the other ones aren't on the board yet. So something's got to be done. So what more can you do because of, I mean, especially particularly because of COVID, you have so many people that's homeless, that's living in the basements of parents' homes or what have you, and they got the money, but they can't find anybody that's willing to, you know, to rent to them. So what do you think is the solution? I guess that's the question.
Well, I've been married for 48 years, and I wish I could move back into my family's house. My parents. One of the things that we are doing is we have a committee now to address those. Real estate agents come to our committee. Director of Center for Economic Development comes to those meetings, and all of the housing associations come to those meetings. So what we're doing right now, Pam, is having a dialogue to find out. I think if you're going to sit at the table and answer those questions, you ought to sit there with the experts that knows about the housing in Will County. And that's what we're doing right now.
So what have they been pretty much saying then? I just give us an example, just a peek into that conversation since you're a part of it.
Well, the last 2 months, they canceled a meeting because the chairman, Amanda Cook, I guess he took a job and wasn't able to have them. So last 2 meetings, the last 2 months, they haven't had a meeting. But I can tell you this, when we were on Zoom 3 months ago, the conversation is working with the real estate agencies and identifying homes and then going after grants to help us to buy the homes and rehab the homes. And I will tell you this too, there's a lot of talk about the old courthouse downtown. And when I attended their meeting, there's a group, House of Hudson has a group to save it. And when I attended their meeting, one of the things, and someone from the city told us, well, no one need a home is going to come down there. Well, right now, we were told there's dozens of people that are homeless that's sleeping around the facility. And so we know there's we know it. They denied it, but we know it. And so that's one of the things that they're looking into with the old courthouse right now as well.
Yeah. Would you all like to chime in on that? Janet or Jasmine?
Well, I'm going to agree that the homeless are living wherever they can. I mean, there's a picture out on, I believe it was on the Joliet Patch, of a homeless man living between the 2 window panes and it was snow all around him. I mean, think of how desperate you must be. The old Kmart was where people were living constantly. I know that there's a group of people who live underneath power lines, and that's because they're desperate. We need to do better. And we're going to have to come up with some ideas, and we're going to have to push, and we may have to get community involved. Actually, not may. We're going to have to get people to understand that we need to do this. If they don't want to see them out begging, let's get them in a home. It's got to be cheaper than putting them in jails and hospitals because they're mentally ill. So we throw them in a hospital for 72 hours, then we throw them back out and back in, and that costs us more money. There's much, much better solutions than that. It seems wasteful instead of getting them into some kind of home.
Thank you, Janet. Jasmine, do you have
Yep.
anything to add to that?
Yeah. I guess I just want to say, like, I'm not on the board, right? So I can't speak on, their behalf yet. But I hear a lot of, like, committees, and I hear a lot of trying. But I guess I want to know, like, when you say you're buying homes to rehab them, like, do we have a number on how many homes were rehabbed? Do we have a number on, like, how many people were homed in this process, or like the timelines of any of these committees have for their projects, and not only that, but is anyone, like, engaging the community in these talks and having them, informing them, educating them on the things that we're trying to do, so that maybe they can push their, like, local elected officials to do more for them?
Thank you. Okay, and I'm sorry, I forgot to mention at the very beginning that I did extend an invite to Denise Winfrey, and unfortunately, I didn't hear back from her, so that's why she's not here. She was extended an invite, so just to let the community know that, okay? Now, one of the things is that I think that is important, and I want to talk about this for a few minutes, and Pastor Brooks, and you can actually answer this. There was a resolution to use the 3% cannabis tax dollars in the community that was most affected by the war on drugs. And both, you can't speak for Denise because she's not here, but I know you were one of the ones that voted against it. Okay. And can you explain why?
There was a resolution, 3%.
Yeah,
I don't remember us voting.
The cannabis tax, the cannabis tax dollars.
It was a proposal.
It was the proposal.
Say that again.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not, there's difference between a proposal and a resolution.
Well, I'm sorry, excuse me,
Proposal.
the proposal. And
Okay,
yeah, the proposal, I stand corrected, the proposal
okay.
that you voted against it. And then once you explain that, then what did you put on the table to actually, make something happen?
There was I did not vote against the proposal because we only vote on resolutions.
Okay.
When a community bring a proposal, that's not a vote on resolution by the county board.
Mm-hmm.
So I did not vote I didn't vote down a 3% resolution or proposal because we don't vote on a proposal.
Okay, again, I stand corrected on that, Pastor Brooks, but what is it?
Okay.
What is it? Go ahead, Sherry.
Let me just say that it was brought up to the various county board members. This was a proposed resolution to use the cannabis tax dollars in the communities that were most affected by the war on drugs. And that was not something that you supported. And why wouldn't you support that, something of that nature?
Because 2 reasons. Number one, I wanted to wait and see what's going to generate. And number two, I also had some additional ideas for that money. One of the things that I really would like to see some of that money going to is the mental health issues in Will County. And so what was proposed, and I would have to tell you this, when that proposal was brought to me, Sherry, I never had any time to look at it. It was brought to our caucus and our board and proposed to us on the night of our meeting. So I never had a chance to look at it. And then secondly, what I was told by a state's attorney, some of the language in there, we were prohibited of doing anyway. So it wasn't so much that I was against it, but it was something that I was told legally at that time we couldn't do. But some of the things, the ideas that I had, and Pam, part of your question, what did I put on the table? I would like to see some of that money have gone to mental health issues.
In what capacity, though? What capacity would?
Well, I've been involved with community involvement for probably over 50 years of my life, and I see a lot of the problems is due to mental illness. One of the things that I'm in the process of doing is organizing a program that I just learned about, a federal program called the Gospel Justice Center, that brings justice to some of our families in Joliet that have been their death had been ruled a suicide, and the mother said they were murdered. And I've got a grant. I'm learning about a grant to help with those things. So I really felt that some of that money should go to mental health, social worker, and or training. So a lot of our young minority young people would not be shot and killed because they couldn't communicate and or understand. So that was the reason why. I don't want to use the word I voted down because it wasn't a resolution for me to vote on, but there were some things that I was against in it because I wanted to see some of the money go more toward mental health issues.
So what did the board say when you brought that to them then, if that's something that you advocated?
Well, right now, we have not made any determination of any of that money yet.
But why not though? But why not? It's been sitting there for the longest.
Because it's called government. It's called process.
And that's why these called voters. You know what I'm saying? Because that's ridiculous.
It's called process and called government. That's the best answer I can give. Yes.
Well,
it's still sitting there.
I would like to also add that there's already money that is advocated for mental health. This is new money. And being that the communities that were directly affected by the war on drugs, I would think that support would go for those people for various because there's crime in the area that people always talking about crime, and they're always talking about those little areas that that were directly affected by this. So the money from the cannabis tax dollars could be used to maybe for education. There's nothing wrong with the mental health aspect of it, as I said, as you said, but the fact is, a lot of money is already advocated for those for that. This would be some new revenue. And I'm just curious as to what other ideas for the community would you like to see directly? Because again, these are Black and brown communities. And those are the ones that, as Speak Up and Vote, we advocate directly for the underserved, which is mostly the Black and brown community. So I mean, this money is there. And that resolution may not have been directly to your liking, but then there's always the opportunity to develop a resolution of your own, right? And then push that forward.
Right.
Well, yeah. I mean, and I'm not going to say it wasn't to my liking. I thought it needed a little more work. And I thought, well, we left that proposal was in the hands of the people that brought it and our state's attorney to work out any kinks or whatever you might want to call it to bring it back. And that has never happened.
And then when it didn't happen, then nothing else happened. I mean, you can take it and run with it too.
So what now?
When when you saw that there was nothing going on, there was nothing else that was proposed either. So
no,
there could have been.
Well, actually, there was, Sherry. There was.
Okay, and that's
the Republican caucus. They brought up. I can't remember now. We haven't had a meeting for several months, but they brought up a number. The Republican caucus proposed a number of things that was also shot down. So, and we haven't had a discussion on that in many months.
And that's sad.
Do you, Jasmine, Janet, you guys are aware of the cannabis tax dollar that Will County puts aside? Do you have any ideas about what should be done with the money? What could be or should be done with the revenue?
Well, to me, we talked about affordable housing. We've got that money. Why not use some of that towards the affordable housing situation? I mean, as I said before, if we get people in houses, they're going to care about that community. So let's use some of that money for that, whether it be in the form of grants or maybe Will County buys some houses and then we fix them up, which would give people jobs, and then put people into those homes that could buy them. Like you said, you've got people with money from Section 8, but they can't find a house. Well, this would solve both. And this is just off the top of my head. I have not done the research into, is this feasible? But it sounds like it should be. I'm sure there's 1,000 things we could do with that money. We just need to really sit down and think about it and find out. In Joliet, the problems are different than in Lockport, different than in Romeoville. So I can only advocate for Joliet, but I also need to hear, okay, we want a percentage for this. Maybe Plainfield or Lockport needs something else. So we're going to have to fight and duke that detail out and find our common ground and then really get it done. And we have to work together and we have to do something. Just passing the buck saying, oh, we'll figure it out later, later never comes. That's not good enough.
Thank you, Janet. Jasmine?
Thank you. I guess, like you said, that these dollars probably should be used to maybe, what I believe is maybe pay some reparations to people who are mostly affected by the war on drugs. Like you say, you guys advocate for Black and brown people. Well, we think a lot of people, I think, want to say that the war on drugs, unfortunately, affects people of minority communities a lot more, and that's really sad to see. So then why don't we use that to invest in maybe having extracurricular programs for kids that maybe are of no cost to parents, so that parents who are already cost burdened by like the housing crisis and housing costs going up, well, then at least their children are out and they're safe. They're in places with trusted adults. And not only that, but maybe, like you said, in areas that have been affected by violence because of the war on drugs and because of drugs in general, maybe we can use some of that money as well to make sure that these communities also stay a little bit safer. A proposal that I got from someone in my area, actually, because I do live in the St. Pat's area, and there's been a little bit of a reoccurrence of violence in my street, actually. And so someone proposed, why don't we place cameras at crime heavy intersections, like at stop signs and stuff like that, in places where people are, where violence is happening. And so I think the biggest thing, though, like Janet said, is the money just shouldn't just be sitting there. It should not just be waiting for someone to use. It should, we need to come up with a plan, and we need to agree, and then we need to implement it. And we need to also maybe have some public interaction on this, have them input, what do you guys need? What do the people who are actually affected by the war on drugs need? And just because I do live in, I can't say that necessarily I was impacted 100%, but I've definitely, been the tiniest bit impacted because of, the community that I live in. And I'd love to see some of these things put in too. When I advocate for people, sometimes I also think like, what would the people, what would my neighbors want? What would the voters need the most?
Thank you.
Can I add something to what she said?
Sure.
I loved the idea of programs for after school programs, because that's down the lines at the Peter Claver Center. So I've got lots of thoughts on that. I love the idea of that because that would keep kids from being involved with the gangs and getting into drugs more. That is great. I love the idea of that. And there's so many things that people in Joliet would love to have their kids be able to do. And it's not just about karate. There's, how about dance, art? There's all kinds of things that I'd love to see kids have an opportunity to do, but they can't because they don't have the money. That's a great idea.
Wonderful. Well, there you have it, Pastor Brooks. Some other ideas you can, while you're still in there, you could take some of these concepts back to the board. I mean, because I think that's one of the biggest things. One of the problems that I find is that the county board members don't get out in the community and really have public forums to ask the people what they want. Because you have a lot of people that may not ever come to a county board meeting, but they're voters, and they do have some say-so into where, their funding goes. And that's why I tell people you have to get out and vote. Because if my mother always told me, if you don't have a seat at the table, you on the menu, and at the end of the day, we should be tired of being on the menu. It's like getting crumbs in our community. It's time to get some meat. And the only way that's going to happen is that we get out and we vote, period, and vote for the issues that are important to you. So in closing, if each of you can just go around and just speak 1 minute in closing about why the community should actually come out and vote for you, to either Pastor Brooks, you retain your position, or Janet and Jasmine, for you to actually get elected into your position. And we'll start with you, Pastor Brooks.
Well, I think they should come out and vote. One of the biggest things that stirred me about voting is the low turnout. So I think to have a voice to speak up, you do it by your vote. We are now going to 11 districts with 65,000 people per district. Every one of them can't run for county board, but you can't have a vote in one of us by coming out and vote. And secondly, I think that there are a lot of things that are yet to be done. The grants are sitting there until the right thing is done, and I think they should. We have a Republican, Democrat caucus that's always going back and forth until we come to some kind of decision where it goes together, then that's going to be dispersed. But I think that's one of the reasons why I want to continue on the board, so I can continue to see that the right thing is done to the right people in the right way. And that's why I think they should continue to support me and vote for me. Thank you.
Okay. Jasmine?
Honestly, I want to start off by saying that during this whole campaign process, I've definitely been connecting with voters. I've been, knocking houses since the beginning of, petitioning season and all throughout, trying to get people out to vote. I've been connecting with voters, showing up to their houses, me and Janet have printed out a lot of flyers for vote by mail forms. We've been telling people if your excuse is that you can't come up to the polls or that your vote doesn't matter and stuff like that, well, we've got the answer. Here's a vote by mail form. Go out, use your right to vote, exercise that right, because some people don't have that right and they wish they did. And not only that, but I guess I also want people to know that I'm going to bring a lot of, fresh ideas, some new ideas. I personally have been affected by a lot of the things that go on in my community, and I want them to know that I'm going to bring that mentality onto the board, and anything that I advocate for and that I educate people on, I'm always going to remember, where I came from.
Thank you, Jasmine. Janet?
Well, I'm going to agree with Pastor Brooks and Jasmine. We definitely have a voter apathy issue, but knock on the doors. I'm hoping that will help get people to realize, ooh, we've got someone with some ideas. Ooh, maybe I feel inspired to do something about it. That's definitely a hope that we're having, because we need people to know it's important. And some of our young people, I'm surprised, did not know that they don't have to vote for every single item that's on the ballot. They thought if they didn't vote for every single thing, their vote didn't count. So why bother? Because I don't know about this other position. We're like, no, you just have to get your foot wet and research what you want, what you're interested in. And Will County Board is pretty basic and low, a low standard for voters. There's not tons of research where, like, if you're going for the president, that's higher standards, and it should be. And people think, oh, well, I don't like that choice. There's only 2. Well, we've got 4 now. So they can do their research and they need to come out and vote. And I'm hoping we can get them to do that. And we're doing this grassroots style, and feel free to go to our webpage. It's janetforwill.com or jasmineforwill.com, and you can get our information on that. Thank you so much for your time. And I'm sorry I kind of blathered on it.
No problem. Pastor Brooks, did you have a website or anything you want to have people go to?
Well, I would tell you this. I'm old fashioned. Me and Fred Flintstones and Barney Rubble have a lot in common. But I will tell you this. I may not do a lot of town hall meeting or Facebook and social media, but I will tell you this. I'm daily meeting with dozens of people that know where to find me at my office. I'm there 7 days a week. And there are people there with every issue that I've ever had to vote on piled into my office every day. Right before I got on this call, I decided to come home because they see my card, they come there, and anybody that knows me know I don't need Facebook. They know where to find me, and they pack in my office every day. I actually have a homeless giveaway on tomorrow at 1:00 where I have some volunteers coming and addressing those issues. And I've been in the community without social media for most of my life. And ladies and gentlemen, I don't mind telling anybody, stop by, call me, because you know where to find me. And my town hall meetings are daily in my office, in my conference room. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, our town halls will be on social media so the younger people on social media can see it. And for those that's not on social media, you just have to get the word out, because at the end of the day, for the three of you, it's really about the votes. It's about boots on the ground. You know, because I don't care how many of these we have, if people don't get out and vote, it means nothing, absolutely nothing. So good luck to each, to each and every one of you. Our goal was just to, to let the community know what's been happening, with the board from a seasoned vet. And then for, some ideas for the two of you that's actually trying to get on the board, some of the ideas that you would have. Now, the actual choice is up to the voters. So those of you that's out there that's listening, you got to get up and vote. At the end of the day, that's what it is. Because once the decisions are made, it's done. The complaining is over because it's a done deal. So this is your time now to stand up and get involved in local government so you can have so you can have an actual, you can actually have a voice in your local government. Okay. All right. Well, thank you all so much for taking time out of your evening tonight to actually participate in this forum. Good luck on the election. And we'll see you all at the top.
All right. Good night.
Have a good night.
Up and vote.
For your time.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.